7. It comes to us from the Tacoma Dome in Washington. Unfortunately, tickets haven't sold too well for this, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on the day of the show and how full the arena is. Some of the tickets have now been selling 2 for 1 just to get people into the dome. A lot of the matches that are going to happen on the Stomping Grounds card are either rematches from Money in the Bank or the god-awful Super Showdown that happened in Saudi Arabia. They haven't announced a pre-show match yet, but there is 9 matches scheduled, so one is bound to be bumped over to the pre-show. We'll start off with the SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the line as Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan defend against Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. Now, there hasn't been really much going on with them. This was only put together just recently. Otis and Tucker are still kind of a comedy gimmick going on and have not been able to be taken seriously. And with that being said, I see Daniel Bryan and Rowan retaining the championships. Moving on to the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak had basically pinned each other, and it was decided that they will both challenge Tony Nese for the championship on Sunday. I don't know if anybody's ready to take the title off of Tony Nese, but if it is, I'm still thinking that Drew Gulak should eventually be the Cruiserweight Champion. If it's going to happen, he's the only person in this match who has not been the champion yet, and I could see Drew picking up the surprise victory and ending Tony Nese's title reign. So I'm picking Gulak to take the title. The New Day, Big E and Xavier Woods, are going to take on the team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This was an impromptu matchup basically thrown out of nowhere this past Monday when it was announced to be happening, and so it is Big E's first pay-per-view match since his injury, but I think Owens and Zayn do need the momentum going forward regardless of what their intentions are with these two, and I see Owens and Zayn picking up the victory. Samoa Joe is going to defend the United States Championship against Ricochet. Now, for whatever reason, they quickly took the title off Samoa Joe and put it on Rey Mysterio, even though there was not a proper pin because Joe's shoulders were not down, but of course Joe did get cut open. But then Rey got injured, and they just gave Joe back the title since he really wasn't pinned when Rey was awarded the title. Makes me wonder if they want to try and take the title actually off of Samoa Joe. This might be the opportunity to do so with Ricochet and prove that at least somebody from NXT call-ups is not going to be treated very worthless like some of the other recent call-ups. And I can see Ricochet taking the championship away from Samoa Joe. Roman Reigns is going to take on Drew McIntyre, and this is yet a rematch, though, from, I believe, WrestleMania. And lately, Roman has been on the short end of the stick as far as things go involving Shane McMahon. It'd only be right for him to get the victory over Drew McIntyre, but then Shane needs to somehow get involved. He's not on the card currently. You know he's going to be looming around, whether it's involving Baron Corbin or with Drew McIntyre in particular. And that, unfortunately, could set up Roman against Shane McMahon coming up at SummerSlam, God forbid, because I'm going to be there for SummerSlam. But, yeah, I see Roman Reigns getting the victory over Drew McIntyre. Becky Lynch is going to defend the Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans, and she beat Lacey pretty quickly when it was at Money in the Bank. However, this one's going to go a little bit longer since Becky doesn't have to do 2 matches in the same night, and it's still going to remain Becky with the Raw Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss is going from Raw over to SmackDown for the night side of things to challenge, should I say, the SmackDown Women's Championship against Bayley. Of course, Alexa is going to have Nikki Cross with her, and as we've seen lately, Nikki Cross has been duped into believing that Bayley has been saying mean things about her. Meanwhile, it's actually, once again, Alexa Bliss using somebody as her shield. It's kind of confusing because at one time it looked like they were going to use Alexa as a face when she was teaming with Nikki and Becky Lynch. And next thing you know, she's back being a heel when she went over to SmackDown and using her wild card and getting the title shot. But Nikki Cross is going to be ringside. Maybe this is the opportunity that Bayley actually does win and retain her championship. But it's also where they pull the trigger and have something with Alexa and Nikki fueled for the Raw side of things with the women's division. So I see, obviously, Bayley retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship over Alexa Bliss. That brings us to the Universal Championship match with Seth Rollins taking on Baron Corbin. There's supposed to be a guest referee chosen by Baron Corbin to be included in the match. Unfortunately, every person that has been speculated or chosen by Corbin to be the special guest referee has been taken out with a steel chair by Seth Rollins. So he's eliminating anybody who wants to side with Baron Corbin. Obviously, that's going to not be able to happen on Sunday. There's a couple speculations, whether it be Brock Lesnar showing up and being the special guest referee, or even Shane McMahon, because it is Baron Corbin. Either way, I don't know if the referee is going to be of any use of helping out Baron Corbin to win the championship, as Seth Rollins will retain the Universal title. And finally, in a steel cage match, which oddly enough was asked for by the heel because the babyface had somebody cheat for him, Dolph Ziggler is going to challenge Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. Now, we all know that, unfortunately, Dolph Ziggler has just been used as a placeholder since people like Daniel Bryan were injured and Kevin Owens was brought in to replace Daniel Bryan, and he was even not wanting to go to Saudi Arabia either, especially since his best friend Sami Zayn couldn't go. So those three have all been bumped to the side to allow Ziggler to be a part of the whole championship scene with Kofi Kingston. And yeah, like I said, he's just a placeholder, not going to end up taking the title. Somebody else will end up beating Kingston for it. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I don't see Kofi exiting 2019 with that championship. It'll be a good run, but when your champion is still part of a six-man tag faction with Xavier and Big E and still tossing around pancakes, how can you take your champion seriously? I do like Kofi Kingston, but he needs to get more serious as the champion, and that's not happening. He will retain over Dolph Ziggler and move on to the next step, which I believe is Extreme Rules coming up next month in July. So those are my picks for tomorrow night's Stomping Grounds. It happens on the WWE Network. Pre-show at 6 p.m. Regular main event show happening at 7.
This is Jim Strider live from the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory, and you're listening to the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast.
surrounded by a bunch of loudmouth scumbags that just want attention. Right now, I need you all to silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and shut your mouths.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.